Tell the audience how cool you are.
That's a strong exaggeration.
Music. Roll the music.
Ooh, here we go. Welcome to the Dream Big podcast, where our goal in life is to find people from all over the world that are the biggest dreamers in one way or another, that are inspiration, that are thinking outside the box, that are pushing through the uncomfortable. And I am so excited today with our special guest in the house who has just written something about uncomfortable, DJ. Oh, well, no, we just go by Billy Dha Kidd. It's not DJ. Okay, so it is Billy Dha Kidd, and it is so exciting to have you in the studio.
I get that a lot more than you would think that I'm a DJ.
Oh, but you're not a DJ. You're a rapper.
Yeah, rapper. Yeah, artist. Yeah.
You're an artist. I listened to some of your stuff on my way here, and you are a talented man. You're
Thanks.
also a father.
Yep.
You are also an investor in real estate.
Yep, an entrepreneur overall.
An entrepreneur. So another serial dadpreneur right here. A guy that's got kids, a guy that's got a family, and a guy that is juggling so many different things. But actually a family first guy too. I know that about you. I watched a little bit about what you were doing out there, and you are a guy that truly, genuinely makes sure that your family and God is your priorities out there.
Yes,
I'm a big fan of that.
Sure. Yeah, so I always tell people, it's like God is always first. Like no matter what, without God, we wouldn't be here. And then for sure, family, health, right? Like those are the three priorities. Once you make those three priorities, the world comes to you. It's crazy.
Love it. Love it. Well, let's start. Tell us your story.
Yeah, so I'm originally from El Salvador. I was born in El Salvador, came to the U.S. when I was 9 years old. It wasn't by choice, is what I always like to tell people. My mother brought me here. I was 9 years old. I didn't know. But also, I always like to tell people that, people say I started from zero all the time. I didn't start from zero. I always tell people I start from negative 100. And the reason behind that is, in El Salvador, we didn't have running water or electricity, for example. And it's like the little stuff that we take for granted in this beautiful nation, right? And it's that little freedom. So once I came to California, I felt like I was a king because we had carpet. We had a toilet. We had, like I said, it's the little things, a stove. My mom back then used to actually start a fire, like a camping trip for her to cook, and it's like, how easy is it to just turn on the stove out here? So it's those little things that I always tell people, like, don't take them for granted in this beautiful nation. So I lived in California, and then I ended up in Nebraska. It was my mom kind of juggling, and single mom, just trying to find basically a place where she could raise her kids. And she ended up talking to an aunt in Nebraska. So we moved to Nebraska. And while I was in Nebraska, teen years is I started doing some stuff that, with no father guidance, you kind of get into the wrong crowd and you start doing dumb stuff. So while my peers were like, getting locked up or fighting, just negative stuff, I started to write music, and I felt like that was the outlet. And, I used to freestyle at parties and stuff like that. I wouldn't call it freestyle probably, but I started freestyling. And so I found that passion of music, and I actually I signed to a Universal Music Group. It was a big deal on paper. The idea was, but not on paper, if that makes sense.
Well, that's a big recording company.
Yeah. And but it was the biggest blessing, because once I noticed that they weren't doing the stuff that they had promised, that's when I started my first LLC for my label, my music label, New Era Music. And so that was my college for business, because from then, obviously going to the state was the first time I ever did that. I started doing accounting, learning about taxes, and realizing, like, man, I can write off all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. I love
Which I'm not an accountant. Anybody listening, don't just start writing everything.
That's just between you and me. You and me, that's it.
But no, it taught me that, and I was able to replicate the business onto my next venture and my next one. And the funny thing is, like, my first three companies, so like it was New Era Music, and then from there I started New Era Construction, and then I started New Era Real Estate. And so it was literally a copy and paste project, or a copy and paste thing that I did, that I wouldn't have done it if I would have learned the business with the label. So yeah, it was a blessing in disguise signing that. I actually got my master's back for that album. So yeah.
So how
I love it.
How did that happen? Like, what did they maybe like go back on as far as the contract originally? And was there just some stuff you didn't like about it?
So I think they knew what they were doing. So here's the thing. I remember going, for example, so I'm from Nebraska. I remember being in Denver, for example, or KC, or even California, and going to like Best Buy, or back then the Circuit Cities, or FYI, I think it was like the music stores with all the albums. And I remember seeing my album at every store, and I was like, okay, well, that was like the first thing that I kind of noticed, like, okay, well, they're telling me that I haven't sold anything. And it's funny, to this day, I never audited them. But obviously I know, but whatever, it's like, it taught me more than I needed to anyway, or it was a blessing at the end. But so they did that. And then they had promised a couple music videos too, that, I would ask, and they never said anything. So yeah, I started noticing those little things, and they did give me an advance at the beginning, but now I just look at it like it was just hush money, But I guess back then, being a teen, and it's like, well, I'm getting paid for what I love doing.
Amen.
That's how they do it. Like these big companies like that too, and even like the Beatles. If you hear about the Beatles, they did their own. They had their own recording company after that too, because they were going through stuff like this. So I think it happens to pretty much everybody.
Yeah,
so.
and I actually had signed 5 albums, so that was the first album that I released. So thank God I got out when I did, because now I own all my masters, and that's the biggest lesson too with that is ownership is number one with any business that you do. So
do you feel like music was your outlet into getting into the more of the business world?
For sure, yeah. So when I started rapping back then, I looked at it like, obviously in my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna become this. I don't know, just. People make it seem, like the fame is what makes you have money and take care of your family. But as a teen, I was thinking, I'm going to be this big superstar that's going to change my family, right? Financial state, which, like I said, it did. And honestly, I mean, I used to go out there and sell CDs. I had a van that was wrapped up with all my logos and stuff. And I moved a few units that way. I was out.
Yeah, that's where they'll start.
Yeah, I would park out of Walgreens or whatever restaurant and just start selling CDs. So
I love it. Hey, so can you give us a rap really quick about what's going on? Can you give us a free flow? You ready for this?
You put me on the spot.
I want to hear it. Come on, baby. You're in Pueblo, Colorado.
On the spot.
Come on and wake up, Pueblo. Let's see. Come on. Let's see what you got.
Man,
I know you're talented. I watched your stuff.
I'll do a wake up. I bake up and get my cake up. Wake up. I bake up and get my cake up. It just made me think. So that's actually a song that I have.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I like it.
You came to the right place.
So tell us about your family.
So I have 2 girls. I have a 14, or she's going to be a 14-year-old in this next month, actually. And then I have a 10-year-old. So 2 girls, my wife, and then single mom. Then I have 3 sisters. So I was like the only male figure too in my family. So that was something crazy that I always talk about too.
Yeah.
But family, like I said, it's the number one thing. And since my daughter was born, it seemed like I obviously had to get my stuff together, faster than you would. But family's first for sure.
Yeah, and it's so beautiful that there's something that you talk about in a podcast. I was just listening to something earlier, and it's like, as an entrepreneur, it doesn't ever stop. Yeah. Like we are always going. I feel like I'm 5 months behind forever. So at some point, you just got to stop. Yeah. And when you have a kid function, and when you have a daughter doing something, we have this in common where you've got to just walk away. Like you can't if there's something going on at 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock or 6 o'clock. It's not like you can be like, I'm going to come home. No, family's first. Yeah. I'll get back to this. And I read something about you, 2:30 practice or something like that. And you were like, cut off. I got to get out of here.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the logic behind that is that sometimes we get so caught up in what we're doing, right? Especially with the beautiful life that we have, you have your book, like all the nice stuff that you're doing that we'll talk about on my podcast.
That's coming next. That's after the 905. Let's go.
But really, it's like the logic. It's like, okay, I'm doing this for them, so I need to put them first. And if you have to put it on your calendar, right? There's times where my wife backs me up with everything that I do, and there's times where maybe she had like our daughter has practice practice, for example, she's like, oh, you don't have to go, I'll take her. But to me, it's like a commitment. Like, it's like, no, I'm going to get up and go.
Yeah.
Because that's why I do it. So it's like, at the end of the day, money doesn't, on my book, I wrote about money isn't everything. And what I mean by that is so many people come out and say, oh, money isn't everything. But a lot of people take that easier route. It's easier to say that than actually put in the work of, for example, with me, almost 20 years with the music, right? And now I'm getting my royalties, and my name's getting out there. So it would have been easier to quit then by saying, "Oh, money isn't everything." But it's like, or another one, I'd rather ride the bus and be happy and poor. But it's like, I rode the bus poor, and I'm going to tell you, it wasn't a great experience. I'd rather drive my Benz that I have nowadays, right? But the whole point of this chapter, that money isn't everything, is that at the end, it's like the more you start doing the stuff that you love. So for example, with me writing this book, now people are calling me, hey, how much to do motivational speaking or coaching? I'm doing some coaching with people, and that is more gratifying than the money. And the thing is that I'm doing what I love. So the crazy thing is money follows you once you start doing that.
Just unplug that. I was trying to lift it. No, I love it. I love it. So
money. So the funny thing is, I end the chapter with, it's like, to me, money really isn't everything, right? Like you do the passion stuff that you love, and it comes to you. So
you talk about your book, and this is something that just released.
Oh man!
I guess I have to take over for this one.
That's what happens when I touch this stuff. I break it every time. As Travis will tell you, don't touch it, man. Just don't touch it.
But your book is The Power of Being Uncomfortable. And how did you settle on that name? And what can people that's on Amazon right now, right? It just released.
Yeah, it just released. It's out already. I just released the audio version too. But the book, the funny thing, I was telling Matt that I start the book by literally saying, I've never written a book before. It's uncomfortable to do so, but I practiced it. So it's called The Power of Being Uncomfortable, because it's a power that you can actually practice intentionally. I noticed that every time that I did something, for example, even just recording my first song, it was uncomfortable, right?
Sure.
Like I didn't know how to write. I didn't know how to, all these different things. It was the first time I did it, so it was uncomfortable. But now that I did it the first time, the more I did it, the easier it got. So that's the point of the book, is that no matter where you're at, wherever you could be starting out, or you could be at $1 million or billionaire, whatever, but you always have to put yourself in uncomfortable situations to get to that next level.
Absolutely, yeah. And I'm with you, because, and people around here, I talk about this ad nauseum, and I talk about cold water therapy, cold shower therapy. So
I just started doing that this week, past week.
Did you really? Okay.
So I've read on it for years, right? Like I have my morning routine, and I was just telling my co-host from my podcast, Dan, I literally just started doing the cold shower. Best thing yet, man.
Exactly.
And I do like a minute or three, I just turn the cold water on and I just sit there. And the crazy thing is, I even read that you could actually it helps you lose weight too, that it kills your
it's great for your
fat
metabolism.
Cells, there's so many things that come with it. So
yeah, I stumbled upon the Wim Hof method, which is, this guy
Intense.
he's in the Netherlands, or he's in somewhere
defying all odds of the human body.
Exactly.
This guy's crazy.
This is a guy that would climb Mount Everest in his gym shorts. I'm like, I got to find out more about this guy, and it's just kind of like your book. It's the power of being uncomfortable, and you see a lot of human growth that way. And
it goes back to what we were saying earlier, even just taking our beautiful nation for granted. Like I said, just imagine how uncomfortable it was, the stuff that I had to do, right, to get to where I'm at, without even, like I said, even just having a toilet. It's like we take those things for granted. So life has gotten so comfortable in this country, right? And I think that's what I'm trying to do with this book. It's like, no, don't get so comfortable. Trust me, it's nice coming home and watching Netflix, or you could choose whatever, right? Whatever, but it's more uncomfortable picking up a book and actually reading it, or getting home and you could set up the heat whatever you want, or the AC, and it's like, no, like so just think back in the day, people had to hunt for food, and
exactly. It's very primitive, and I think you're right. It's something that in this country we've just gotten really comfortable with our way of life, and everything's very easy. So
and I noticed every time I started practicing this power, like I said, now I do it more actually intentional than before, but I noticed that each time that I put myself in an uncomfortable place, at that time it seemed like it was the end of the world, but that place took me to that next level and the next. And so when you start to intentionally do it, it's a crazy power.
Sure.
Power being uncomfortable, for sure.
That's when the magic happens, and that's something we talked about. I actually was doing a video yesterday about, like, we all have insecurities, like every single human is born with flaws, and our goal is to kind of get through that, you know what I mean? And you got to do shit that scares you. You got to do shit that's uncomfortable, because that's the only way you'll get past that thing. If you hate being on a stage, get your ass on as many stages as you can. If you hate writing a book, pick up a pen and figure out how to write a book.
Love it.
And nowadays it is like, the kids coming up now have a cheat code. It's called Google, man. There is nothing you cannot learn on Google to get over your insecurities or do the shit that makes you scared or that's uncomfortable, and get through that. Because like you said, it's so funny. Like when I always do my New Year's resolutions, and I think of, okay, it's 2022 coming up. What did I learn from last year? What did I screw up, and what do I get to the next level? But you got to put on that list things that scare you that you need to attack. Get coaches, like you said. You are a coach. You're writing books. Like, this is a guy that can help you in so many ways because he's done that. But there's people like I worked out at the gym this morning at 5 o'clock. I have a trainer there. I own a gym. I've done it for 15 years. I still have a trainer because he holds me accountable, and he teaches me, get your ass in here, and attacks me every single time I'm in there. So just do the uncomfortable, but there's always people around you. Surround yourself by people that, help your flaws and help get you to the next level, because the next thing you know, 2023, your New Year's resolutions, you're going to be like, that's not my insecurity anymore. Got through that. It's time to move on to the next thing, So it is the beautiful thing about life is you can change it like that. Everything is in the past is in the past. You get another shot. Looking forward.
Yeah, love that. Love it. Actually, the first chapter is called "If They Shit, They Will Laugh at You," and the whole concept of that chapter is, obviously, you said haters. Like, people are always like, and the whole point of that chapter at the end is, the comfortable people are the ones that have the most opinions, because the more successful people I meet, and the less negative they are, right? Like, and obviously that means something. So anybody out there listening, get uncomfortable like that.
And haters are a part of the journey. If I didn't learn anything from Grant Cardone, it's like, hanging out with Grant. You're a big Grant guy. I think we've got a mutual Grant love in this here, but it's a part of the journey. And I've learned it. Like, the one thing here is, when we decided to call this Wake Up Pueblo, people came out of the woodworks like, Pueblo doesn't be woken up. And I'm like, everybody needs to be woken up. Come on. Like, that's the wrong attitude. I don't care where you're at in life. You can continue to grow with that, but it was like the best name that we could have ever come up with, but also the most hated name in certain areas, because just people look at it wrong. But those are the people that are comfortable, that aren't willing to say, let me look in the mirror. There's plenty of flaws that I have out there, and there's plenty of things. Like, it was pure when we said that name. It was, everybody in here has so much love for this community and this town, and if you'd really look into that, you'll see, like, everything about this is to give back to our community and help our community grow.
I actually did a show a few years ago in Pueblo. I can't remember where.
Really?
I did a show. This was probably back in 2012 or something, 2013.
So you've been here.
Yeah. But it was like Denver, Colorado Springs, maybe, Pueblo, and somewhere else. I can't remember. So we did like 4 little, a little tour or whatever. So yeah, I was looking forward to being here. So
did you perform, or what'd you do here?
Yeah. And like I said, I can't remember. I know there's Grata too. That's probably another town that I'm thinking.
Grenada?
Yeah.
Grenada.
Where's that at?
It's in the mountains somewhere.
Because I did a show out there.
Where's Grenada?
Is it?
I know I've delivered mattresses there, but I don't remember where it's at. It's been on our list of mattress delivery places.
Oh, nice.
Grenada, Colorado. I think it's
like between Colorado Springs and Cripple Creek, I think.
That sounds right.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
sure, let's go with that.
I did a show there.
By South Parkish.
I was going to say, too, you talked about doing goals. That's something that I always encourage people. If you want to change your life, that's literally the first thing you got to do at the beginning of the year, right? Also, one thing that I started doing this year, I write goals with my family. Like, we sit down and I'll have my daughters have their own version of their goals, and the wife, me, and then both of us together. One of the things that we incorporated was, we wrote that I had my whole family, or my 2 girls and my wife, write down whatever negative things they were experiencing at the time, like feelings, whatever. So what I did is I had them write it down. And the great thing about this exercise that we only came up with like 4. So I think that tells a lot of where our family is, ground wise. So I was happy to see that with my daughters too. Like, well, there's only like 4 or 5 things they wrote down. But after that, we folded up the paper and we burned it. And that gives you this like motion of like, okay, I'm leaving all that negativity behind me. I don't know, just an exercise for anybody out there that.
When did you do that? You do that like on the New Year or the first or the last?
The first
day of the year.
Yep. Which I kind of want to start changing and do it like the last 2 weeks, I think is what I've seen a pattern of entrepreneurs do. When do you do it?
Goals? Mm-hmm. Yeah, the last 2 weeks of the year is really... We try to set it up for the business, each business individually, kind of the people, the leaders of our companies, and then ultimately the family for sure. Me and my wife always do our bucket list. Actually, I met my wife through the bucket list, so it's crazy just putting that together. Yeah. But we also do the family one. What are we trying to do as a family? What do we want to accomplish right now? Yeah. So I know that New Year's resolutions, in the gym business, it's funny because everybody's like, this is my year. But there's so many entrepreneurs out there that's like every day should be your New Year's. But I love a fresh start. Like I always 2022's here. This is our time to look back and go, okay, what did we learn from? And you always can learn. Like we made so many mistakes in 2021, but we also had a lot of wins. Let's get excited about the wins, but let's learn from every single mistake that we had last year. Yeah, I love that. And
that's the thing. It's like you get what you focus on, and that's the biggest thing. Mentally, you have to do is focus on the good things, focus on the positive things. And you could be driving to work and a tire pops, right? And if you let that tire go from to the next thing, maybe you get to work and you get fired. I don't know. All these little things happen, or maybe you get home after that and you get this bill that you weren't expecting and it's more than what you thought, and all things just start happening. But if you would have, even that tire popping, if you would have focused on it and been like, you know what, maybe that saved me from being in an accident and actually dying. And people forget too, the biggest blessing we have is waking up. Like, wake up. Right?
Yeah.
Thank
Absolutely.
you. But
Absolutely.
People forget that's the biggest blessing we have. I read on a book I don't know a few years ago that there's a billionaire that won't get out of bed. So wakes up and then he won't get out of bed until there's a tear of joy and gratitude dropping down his cheek. And just imagine if we all woke up that way. How beautiful would the world be?
No kidding.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, people just kind of like take it as the daily grind, and they don't really take a second to step back and say, wow, this is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So, you kind of make the rounds as far as the entrepreneur circuit. And I know I've seen you, go into some different, I don't know what you call them, book signings or whatever like that. Is there an entrepreneur that you admire the most?
Oh,
that you say that I want to be like this guy, maybe in the future.
What's crazy for sure, there's a few that come to mind, but I think every person that I meet that we have like the conversations, like I said, it goes back to what I just said with when you get around positive people, the conversation is different. You surround yourself with winners, the conversation is different.
Absolutely.
And the more I meet people, like Matt, for example, it's like so I think in general, the crazy thing is even like in my city, there's so many people that are willing to go have coffee with you, and anybody out there listening, that could be something that you could start doing if if you're at that beginning stage where it's like hit up somebody that's doing something and you'd be surprised. I mean, at the end of the day, that's kind of like where I'm heading with my stuff. It's like, no, I want to help people as much as I can and show them that there's something better than the way that I grew up, or the poverty and all that. So I would say surround yourself. Robert Kiyosaki comes to mind when you ask that question.
It's a bad dude.
Yeah, Rich Dad Poor Dad, man.
One of the best books of all times, for sure.
And then, I mean, you mentioned Cardone too. I mean, he's a bad motherfucker. Can we cuss it?
Yes, you can. Right. How you want to say
it? Yeah, but and to your point, one of my chapters is called "Positivity is a Muscle," and I believe that we don't all have the same upbringing. Some people are born, at a negative advantage, and other people are born abusive or homeless or parents on drugs or whatever it may be. We can't control that. You know what I mean? But the more you put positive in your head and look and put that in the rearview mirror, and that's from reading books in the morning to surrounding yourself by positive people to whatever you can do, you can change your stars going forward. You can't change those going past. And that's the beautiful thing of life. We got one good chance at this, and you never know what you had in the past to get to this level. But positivity is such a strong thing. And the more times you use it, the thing that I've learned in my life is that I don't even see negative anymore because it's not a part of my life. Like I just make decisions based on positivity. I only see positive. But it took time to get there. You know, there was definitely tough times and stuff.
And it's like
work
daily grind too.
100%.
It's a daily grind. A lot of people think that, oh, okay, I had a great Monday, right? And then they think Tuesday. It's like, no, you have to wake up. And like I said, I have a morning routine. When I do that morning routine, and honestly, at the end of the day, if you want to be successful, work on yourself. The rest follows. I promise you. With me, it's like, okay, now it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm a multimillionaire, right? But it didn't come from. It came from me working on myself. Like that's what's crazy. It's like if the better I got, the better. So now where I'm at, it's like I became a better father, a better husband, a better friend, a better businessman. So you get better anyways, and it's really about that journey at the end of the day too. People have this goal that it's like, oh, I'm not going to be happy until it's like with me, I was happy eating when my mom was starting that camping fire, right? Yeah. Like I was happy then. I mean, I'm happier now, don't get me wrong, but I was still happy. It's a choice. You have a choice to make every day. It's a daily grind.
What's your daily routine? What do you do every morning?
So first thing is I wake, this is $1 million hat.
Let's go.
So I wake up and I chug a cup of water. That's actually let me back up. On my phone, I have my vision board, my long-term goals. So basically my affirmation. So I go over this, and I did it on my phone because it's like, okay, it's negative to look at your phone, right? But I'm like, let me turn it into a positive. So before I even open my phone, I have my wallpaper. So I go through my long-term goals. I pray, and it's a quick pray, quick 30-second minute where I'm just thankful for waking up, basically. Then I chug my cup of water. I take care of my business. That cup of water actually wakes you up, your insides and all that. So it's a great way to start. Then I take care of business. I do a quick 5-minute meditation. And then that's when I hit the treadmill with an audiobook. And I have a little Bowflex set up at home. I haven't fought myself to the gym yet, but I do have my equipment at home. The thing is, I run it outside, but not with our Midwest weather during the winter. It's cold.
It's hard. It's really hard.
But I've done it too. If it's less than 20, I learned the hard way. I remember one of the mornings it was like 10 degrees and it had snowed, so I fell on my ass trying to run. But I was trying to get uncomfortable, but I tried. And so I got me a treadmill. And I get on the treadmill, audiobook. You're exercising your mind while you're doing that. And then after I finish that, I chug another cup of water. Take my cold shower now.
There you go. Beautiful.
And then I read for 15 minutes after that. So I have like 3 books going at the same time. Well, I don't know. The more you learn too, the more you earn.
What are you listening to
right now? What am I listening? I just finished Chase the Lion. Right now, have you read that one?
Chasing the Lion. That's by.
So basically, it's funny because it reminded me of my book too. It's like your dreams are a 500-pound lion, basically. So chase them, and it's that next thing that you need to do. Look at it that way, but you have to chase it. Don't be scared of that lion. That's really like the priority of the book. And then physically, I'm reading The Millionaire Fast Lane.
Nice.
Great book. And then. Those are the 2 that I have going on right now. For the audio, another one is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. That I do that every beginning of the year. It sets me up for the year. My mindset is my favorite book. So
it's a great book.
Do you ever go back to El Salvador? Do you bring your family down there with you and just to kind of see your roots and
so
where
great question.
It's a Chavez question. I feel it.
He's was that?
This is coming from Chavez. There's a reason here. No? I felt like he whispered into his ear. This question came out.
He was looking for his Instagram.
Oh, okay. Never mind then.
You're like, give me credit.
This feels like it. No.
I'm the heavy thinker around
there's
here.
There's always people in the room. Just, people see like 2 guys right here, but there's always a ton of amazing, the Brooks and the Chavezes and the Nicks of the world that make this world go around, and then somebody else to edit and cut all this fancy stuff. Like there's a lot. It takes an army.
Yeah. No, great question. So, I actually, I wrote about it on the book too. One of the things that I wrote about is fear is the next thing that you need to do next. And I'll get to that question because it leads to it. I actually, since I came as a kid to the U.S., basically my legal status, I wasn't even a resident at the time, right? So I couldn't leave the country. That's what's crazy. I've lived here for 23 years now, and I couldn't leave the country. And the crazy thing is, I write on the book, is like I even got comfortable with that. So fear is what you need to do next, is me chasing that immigration status where technically, I'm not going to get all political, but one of the presidents signed off on the program that I was on. So therefore, I literally, my only choice was to go back to El Salvador, right? But it's like, I'm proud of being from El Salvador, but I'm not from there anymore, right? Like I have my family here. So we had to take a trip in order for me to prove to the immigration that I came back to the nation legally. And I write about it in the book, so check it out. So I got uncomfortable doing that, and thank God it worked out. I became a permanent resident, and now this year, hopefully I'll become a citizen. Last year was the first time that we left to El Salvador. The funny thing is, once again, on the book I write about how people were telling us, don't do it, this could happen to you out there. And so I ended up taking my daughters with me and the wife. It was the first time that we left the country. And it was like a trendsetter, right? Because now, we have goals of traveling, right, outside of the U.S. for sure, and so that was we used the power of being uncomfortable. Like, you know what, we're not going to listen to all this negativity, and we went. El Salvador is a beautiful country. I don't know if you guys knew this, but it's the first country that has crypto as legal tender.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, first country that and they're actually building a city called Bitcoin City right now as we speak. It's going to be tax-free too, the way they have it set up. And because of the volcanoes, they generate Bitcoin. It's crypto. It's fucking crazy. Check it out. So the president right now there is 30-something. He's super young. He changed. I mean, you go to that country and you... I don't know. It felt amazing, honestly, to the point where I'm considering definitely buying some property out there and investing. So, yeah, it was an amazing trip. Also, when I travel to things like that, it just made me think of one of my podcasts. I try not to be on social media while I'm traveling, and I practice it, especially going out there, because when you're on your phone, you post a picture, and it kind of takes away from like living the moment, right?
It really does. Yeah.
The Power of Now is a book that I don't know if you guys have read that one. It's a great book. It talks about living in the moment, and it's the crazy thing is all these great books that we're talking about. It's like ABC concepts, so they're super easy. Like make your bed. I mean, right? Wake up, make your bed. But guess what? Not many people do that little task, and it's like that little task can take you to the next level in life. So
absolutely, the little things.
Yeah, first time ever was June last year.
That's great.
Yeah. So.
And the family was with you.
Yeah.
And what did they think?
Loved it. My daughters, they asked me, hey, when are we going back? When are we going back? And yeah, we're looking forward to. I did cheat a little bit. I had one of my uncles from California tell me because he goes there every year, I believe. So I told him, hey, next time you go, and he did. And so he kind of took us to all these beautiful places. We ate on top of a volcano. Like you drive around up the volcano, and every couple miles as you're going up is a different restaurant, and it has a different scene, a different theme to it. And then the crazy thing is once you make it to the top, you could actually see inside the volcano. It's dead. It's not alive, but
sure.
Great experience. Just amazing. We went to Lake Coatepeque, which is another volcano that has a lake inside. And so literally like there's people on boats and just having a great time. The story behind it is that the city, you could actually see the old city that used to be in there. If you go, it's like top 10 wonders of the world. So check it out.
Definitely, yeah.
But beautiful.
What's next for Billy Dha Kidd?
Oh man, I'm gonna definitely writing books. I feel like I'll compare it with my albums, for example. It was easier to sell books and besides albums, and the reason why I say that is with music, it's easy to find it anywhere, right? Yeah. People are used to finding it for free, basically, essentially. But the book, people actually bought, and so. My thinking behind it is with my music, I've always done motivational music and try to push people to the next level. So I'm like, okay, so they pay attention more in a book, then I'm going to definitely do more of that. So hopefully I can change people's lives. So write more. Music, I'm actually releasing I don't know when this will air, but this Friday, January 14th, I'm releasing a song called "The Power of Being Uncomfortable." So it's the theme song to the book. So music, I'm still releasing, and then real estate, man. Real estate is another passion of mine. I'm gonna keep doing that for sure.
I love it. Give us a line from your new song.
Dang. Let's see.
He likes putting you on the spot.
I like it.
I like to make you uncomfortable.
I like it.
Let's go.
Let's see. I want to be successful. My life has been so stressful. And then, so that's like the hook, but then I just spaced out the rest of it.
That's good.
With the power of being uncomfortable. I forgot how the hook goes, but the crazy thing is it's all a mental, like the song is all mental. Like literally I'm pushing people based on obviously the book. I talk about little parts of the book, but you put me on the spot. I can't even.
That's all right. We're going to have you come back and do that. We'll do it in yours.
There you go.
So tell us where the audience, where anybody can find you. Where are you at?
So BillyTheKid.com, and it's Billy. The funny thing is people ask me, is that IE or Y? I think IE is female, but whatever. Right. Billy with the Y. Dha Kidd, which is DHAKIDD. So BillyTheKid.com, and then I'm on Instagram mainly.
Okay.
So Billy the Kid for Instagram, and then YouTube.
No LinkedIn? No Facebook?
I do have Facebook. I think I've liked Instagram more with my music and everything.
You need to get on LinkedIn.
I do.
Well, one thing that Grant taught us was omnipresence. Be everywhere. Get on all those platforms. There's a different audience in each one of them. So find him on LinkedIn too. You just answered
my question.
He's going to be on LinkedIn.
Because it's funny because I've also read that I can't remember where I read it, but it basically focus on one platform to grow that platform. How do you guys feel about that?
You could grow one, but be on all of them.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Definitely focus on one of them. But they all talk differently. But I will tell you that I've probably sold more books, more franchises, and met more, amazing people through LinkedIn than anything else.
Wow. Okay.
So I will tell some of, like Andrew Carrington, one of our head trainers, like he drove cross country because of LinkedIn and met us and talked, and a lot of people like that. So LinkedIn's powerful. You'll learn. So get on LinkedIn. But anyway, follow him on LinkedIn as well.
Okay.
So last question. I always have a final question for everybody here is, what does dream big mean to you?
I think dream big means doing whatever you want in life. And obviously, again, it's all mental. Like I keep telling people this, listen to me, it's all mental. Dream big. And obviously just that saying, it's like, it all starts in your mind. If you could see it, you could achieve it, basically. So
love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much for being on this podcast. This has been another episode of Dream Big Podcast with Billy the Kid. Follow this guy on all of his platforms. This is another serial dadpreneur. The guy is doing amazing things, and there is no doubt. He flew from the other side of the country to be here today. We're about to go to our 9:05 meeting, but we got a lot to learn today. Excited to have this guy, but stay tuned. There's no doubt he is going to make some big moves and do some giant things out there, and we are just honored to have you on this podcast today. So stay tuned for another episode of Dream Big, where our goal is to find the biggest dreamers in the world and let you hear from them, learn their story, and how that can affect your life. Woo. Dream big, baby.
Let's get it.
Wake up!